First contact facade. The Meridian Empire had ruled the galaxy for 10,000 years, their technological superiority unchallenged across 50,000 systems. When they first encountered human ships at the edge of the Orion Arm, their response was one of practiced condescension. The vessels appeared crude, their warp signatures inefficient, their weapons primitive. Perfect candidates for another subjugated species in their ever-expanding empire. Admiral Vexthor stood on the bridge of the Imperial dreadnought Eternal Dawn, his scaled fingers tapping against the crystalline command console as he observed the approaching human diplomatic vessel. The ship's design was almost laughably simple, a cylindrical core with protruding engine nacelles, its hull marked with what appeared to be crude patch repairs and retrofit modifications. Another species that barely understands the principles of faster-than-light travel, he remarked to his bridge crew, earning knowing chuckles from his officers. Send the standard greeting package. Let's see how quickly they submit. The human response came swiftly, filled with what seemed like eager enthusiasm for cultural exchange and technological trading. They even requested guidance from the mighty Meridian Empire, appearing appropriately awed by the massive Imperial vessels. What the Meridians couldn't know, was that deep within the Sol system, beneath the ice sheets of Europa, and in the hidden shipyards of Mars Valles Marineris, humanity was building something else entirely. The crude vessels they showed the galaxy were carefully crafted decoys, each imperfection meticulously designed to present an image of technological inferiority. In a secure facility 5 kilometers beneath the Martian surface, Fleet Admiral Sarah Chen stood before a holographic display of the Meridian Empire's known territory. Behind her, visible through reinforced transparent aluminum windows, loomed the true pride of human engineering, the UEA's Hyperion. Status report on the quantum fold drive, she asked, her voice calm but carrying an edge of anticipation. Final calibrations complete, Admiral. Chief Engineer Marcus Rodriguez reported. The QFD is operating at 99.8% efficiency. The Meridians won't know what hit them. For 3 years, humanity had played the part of the primitive species, carefully feeding the Meridians' superiority complex while gathering intelligence on their every weakness. They studied Meridian shield harmonics, weapons configurations, and FTL signatures. Each seemingly innocent trade delegation included sensors far more sophisticated than anything the Meridians believed humans capable of producing. The Hyperion represented the culmination of this strategy. Its hull was composed of metamaterials that could alter their fundamental properties on demand. Its weapons systems operated on principles the Meridians had never conceived. But most importantly, it carried humanity's greatest achievement, the quantum fold drive, a propulsion system that didn't just bend space, it rewrote it. They've started implementing their standard subjugation protocol, Sarah's XO reported, reviewing the latest intelligence. Their fleet movements match historical patterns perfectly. Sarah nodded, a slight smile playing at the corners of her mouth. They really do love their routines, don't they? Status of the defense grid. All planetary shield generators are online but operating in passive mode. They still appear as atmospheric regulators to outside scans. The Meridian advisors haven't noticed anything unusual. Humanity had learned early in its spacefaring history that appearing weak could be the greatest strength. While other species raced to display their power, humans had chosen a different path. Every technology they developed was designed to be concealed. Every advancement was hidden beneath layers of apparent primitiveness. Send word to all commands, Sarah ordered. Operation oversight begins in 72 hours. Maintain current protocols until then. As the orders were relayed through quantum-encrypted channels, Sarah turned her attention back to the Hyperion. The ship represented humanity's rejection of the very principles the Meridians held dear. The belief that true power had to be displayed, that technological advancement followed a predictable path, that younger species could be judged by their apparent capabilities. In 3 days, the Meridians would learn a lesson that humans had known for millennia. Appearances could be deceiving, and underestimating an opponent was the surest path to defeat. The Hyperion's quantum core pulsed with barely contained energy, its systems ready to demonstrate just how wrong the Meridian's assumptions had been. Humanity wasn't just ready for a fight. They had been preparing for this moment since they first looked up at the stars and wondered what awaited them in the vast darkness of space. The game of submission and superiority the Meridians had played for 10,000 years was about to meet its match, not in brute force or obvious power, but in humanity's capacity for patience, deception, and calculated action. Soon, very soon, the galaxy would learn that humans weren't just another species to be conquered. They were the architects of their own destiny, and they had chosen this moment to reveal their true nature to an unsuspecting galaxy. The silent vanguard. Deep within the Hyperion's command center, Marcus Rodriguez made his final adjustments to the quantum fold drive's containment field. The technology they'd developed went beyond anything the Meridians could comprehend. It didn't just manipulate spacetime. It rewrote the fundamental laws of physics within its influence. Final diagnostic complete, he reported to Admiral Chen. All systems are operating within predicted parameters. Sarah nodded, her eyes fixed on the tactical display showing Meridian fleet movements. The Empire's ships were positioning themselves exactly as predicted, their tactics unchanged for centuries, their formations as rigid as their beliefs in their own superiority. They're implementing Stage 2 of their standard conquest protocol, her tactical officer announced. Their advisory vessels are moving into position around our major colonies. The Meridians believed they were watching a primitive species scramble to accommodate their demands. Every human ship that fled from their patrols, every colony that hastily accepted their protection, every technological secret allegedly discovered by their spies, all of it carefully orchestrated to reinforce their presumptions. What they couldn't see were the quantum sensors hidden within seemingly primitive communications arrays, mapping their fleet movements down to the molecular level. They didn't notice the sophisticated AI systems masquerading as basic automation, analyzing their every command decision, and building predictive models of their strategic thinking. The Hyperion itself was humanity's masterpiece of deception. From the outside, the massive ship appeared to be under construction, a clumsy attempt by a younger species to imitate their betters. Its external scaffolding and exposed panels suggested a project years from completion. But beneath that carefully crafted facade lay a warship unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Status report from Project Prometheus, Sarah asked, turning to her science officer. All gravity manipulation systems are online and synchronized. The quantum entanglement network is stable. We can deploy the full array within 3 minutes of initialization. Project Prometheus was just one of dozens of technological developments humanity had pursued in secret. While the Meridians watched human ships struggle with basic warp physics, humanity had moved beyond the need for traditional propulsion entirely. In a secure briefing room aboard the Hyperion, Sarah met with her command staff. The holographic display showed hundreds of Meridian ships moving into position around human space, each one tracked by sensors they never knew existed. Their confidence is their weakness, Sarah explained to her officers. They believe they've seen everything we're capable of. They think they understand our limitations. She smiled slightly. That presumption ends tomorrow. The Meridian Empire had spent millennia perfecting their approach to subjugating younger species. Their process was methodical, tested, and had never failed. Step by step, they would establish their presence, demonstrate their power, and gradually strip away a species' independence while maintaining the illusion of benevolent guidance. But humanity had turned that very predictability against them. Every Meridian protocol, every standard response, every tactical doctrine had been studied, analyzed, and prepared for. The humans hadn't just developed countermeasures, they had built their entire strategy around the Empire's inability to conceive of failure. As the command staff reviewed their final preparations, alerts began coming in from across human space. The Meridians were beginning their standard security operations, deploying troops to key facilities under the guise of protecting human interests. Their ships moved with practiced precision, their commanders confident in their absolute superiority. "They're right on schedule," Sarah's XO noted, updating the tactical display. Their fleet movements match historical patterns with 99.7% accuracy. Sarah stood before the massive viewing window, watching as maintenance drones swarmed around the Hyperion's hull, appearing to conduct repairs while actually bringing weapons systems online under the cover of construction activity. Humanity has spent its entire history learning, adapting, and overcoming, she addressed her crew. While other species sought to display their power, we learned the value of patience. While they built empires on fear, we built our future on understanding. Tomorrow, we show them the cost of underestimating humanity. The quantum fold drive hummed quietly beneath their feet, its power carefully contained until the moment of revelation. Throughout human space, hidden facilities and cloaked ships waited for the signal to reveal themselves. The greatest deception in galactic history was about to reach its conclusion. The Meridians believed they were watching the final stages of another species' submission to their power. Instead, they were witnessing humanity's carefully orchestrated prelude to a revolution that would reshape the galaxy. The empire that had never known defeat was about to learn that true power lies not in what you show, but in what you keep hidden. Breaking the chains. Admiral Vexthor stood on the bridge of the Eternal Dawn, watching with mild amusement as human ships scattered before his fleet's advance. The pathetic display of their vessels' attempts to evade Meridian patrol ships only reinforced his species' superiority. His massive dreadnought led a fleet of 500 warships, more than enough to secure human space for the Empire. "Send the final ultimatum," he commanded. "Let them know their period of independence is over. They may retain their cultural identity under our benevolent guidance, but their military forces will submit to Meridian control." The message was transmitted across human space, its tone carefully crafted to sound reasonable, even generous. The Meridians had perfected this approach over millennia, the illusion of choice masking the reality of conquest. Deep within the Hyperion's command center, Admiral Chen received the transmission with a slight smile. "They really do love their speeches, don't they?" She turned to her crew. "Status of Operation Oversight. All systems ready, Admiral. Quantum Fold Network is synchronized. Project Prometheus is armed and awaiting your command." Sarah took a deep breath, feeling the weight of history on her shoulders. "Send the response." Aboard the Eternal Dawn, Vexthor's communication officer suddenly straightened. "Admiral, incoming transmission from the humans. It's different from their usual protocols." The message was short, defying the usual desperate pleas or diplomatic maneuvering the Meridians had come to expect. It contained just 3 words: "Oversight protocol activated." Before Vexthor could contemplate the meaning, his tactical officer shouted in alarm. "Admiral, energy spike detected. It's impossible." The scaffolding surrounding the Hyperion suddenly dissolved, revealing its true form. The seemingly incomplete vessel transformed before their eyes, its metamaterial hull shifting and realigning. What had appeared to be construction equipment reconfigured into weapon systems more advanced than anything the Meridians had ever encountered. But it wasn't just the Hyperion. Throughout human space, hidden installations emerged from their camouflage. Orbital platforms that had appeared to be primitive defense stations revealed themselves as quantum weapon arrays. Civilian ships suddenly dropped their facade, their hulls reconfiguring to expose sophisticated armaments. "Full scan," Vexthor commanded, his voice losing its usual confidence. "I want to know exactly what we're dealing with." "Sir, their technology. These readings can't be right. They're operating on principles we don't even understand." The Hyperion moved first, its quantum fold drive engaging. Rather than the crude warp signatures the Meridians were familiar with, space itself seemed to twist and reshape around the vessel. One moment it was at the edge of their sensor range, the next it had simply appeared directly alongside the Eternal Dawn. "Impossible," Vexthor breathed. No species at their level of development could. His words were cut short as the Hyperion's primary weapons came online. Rather than the energy beams or plasma torpedoes the Meridians had mastered millennia ago, these weapons distorted the very fabric of reality. Precise quantum manipulations created localized areas where the laws of physics simply ceased to function as they should. Meridian shields, designed to deflect energy and matter, proved useless against weapons that rewrote the fundamental forces holding their ships together. 3 cruisers simply ceased to exist, their matter converted to energy in a carefully controlled reaction that left no debris. All ships opened fire. Vexthor commanded, but his carefully arranged fleet was already in chaos. Human vessels appeared and disappeared across the battlefield, striking with weapons that ignored traditional defenses. From her position on the Hyperion's bridge, Sarah watched as humanity's true capabilities were finally unveiled. "Launch Prometheus swarms," she ordered calmly. Thousands of quantum-entangled drones emerged from hidden bays across human space. Unlike traditional combat drones, these operated as a single networked consciousness, sharing information and coordinating attacks through quantum links that transcended spacetime itself. The Meridian Fleet's formation, perfected over thousands of years of unopposed dominance, crumbled in minutes. Their rigid tactical doctrine, once their greatest strength, became their undoing as they failed to adapt to warfare operating on principles they had never imagined possible. "Admiral," Sarah's tactical officer reported, "the Meridian Fleet is attempting to regroup. Their ships are falling back to defensive positions." Sarah nodded. "Let them run. Let them report what they've seen here. The galaxy needs to understand. Humanity was never weak. We were never primitive. We were patient." As the surviving Meridian ships fled the battlefield, they carried with them a message that would shake the Empire to its foundations. The species they had dismissed as barely worth conquering had revealed itself to be something else entirely, not just technologically superior, but operating on a level the Meridians hadn't even known was possible. The age of Meridian dominance was over. The galaxy would never be the same. The counterstrike. News of the Meridian defeats spread through the Empire's communication networks like a quantum shockwave. In the Imperial Palace on Meridia Prime, the High Council gathered in an emergency session for the first time in 2,000 years. Supreme Overlord Kha'Zix, his scales dulled with age and wisdom, watched the holographic replay of the battle for the 100th time. The human ships moved with impossible precision. Their weapons violated the very laws of physics the Meridians had built their civilization upon. "How?" he demanded of his assembled advisors. "How did we miss this?" The answer was as simple as it was devastating. They had seen exactly what humanity wanted them to see. Every scan, every interaction, every piece of intelligence had been carefully crafted to reinforce the Meridians' own prejudices. In human space, Admiral Chen was coordinating the next phase of Operation Oversight. The Hyperion's quantum communications array displayed real-time updates from across the galaxy as hidden human forces revealed themselves. "Status of the Prometheus swarms," she asked her tactical officer. "All units deployed and operational, Admiral. The quantum entanglement network is stable across all sectors. On 100 worlds previously thought to be under Meridian control, automated facilities that had masqueraded as primitive mining operations suddenly activated. Quantum gates, disguised as simple transport hubs, powered up. The infrastructure for humanity's counteroffensive had been built right under the Meridians' noses. The Meridian Empire had always assumed that technological advancement followed a predictable path. Their own history had shown them that species developed warp drive before quantum manipulation, energy weapons before matter conversion. They had never conceived that a younger race might develop in a completely different direction. "Launch Phase 2, Sarah commanded. Across Meridian space, their supposedly impregnable automated defense networks suddenly turned against them. Human quantum infiltration systems, hidden within what appeared to be crude trade vessels, had been rewriting their base code for years. In the Centaurus sector, A Meridian battle fleet found itself trapped when their quantum navigation systems failed, redirecting them into a carefully prepared ambush. The Hyperion's sister ships, the Athena and the Apollo, emerged from their hidden docks, their weapons already charged. Multiple Meridian fleets are attempting to converge on our position, Sarah's XO reported. They're abandoning their standard tactical doctrine. Finally learning to adapt, Sarah noted. But too late. The Prometheus swarms demonstrated their true capability, creating localized quantum fields that turned space itself into a weapon. Meridian ships found themselves fighting not just an enemy they couldn't match, but the very fabric of reality. In the Imperial Palace, reports of defeats poured in from across the Empire. Colonies that had been under Meridian control for thousands of years suddenly declared their independence, protected by human quantum defense systems that had been secretly installed years ago. They didn't just prepare for war, Supreme Overlord Kha'Zix realized. They built an entirely new form of civilization under our watch. The human offensive moved with precision that bordered on precognition. Every Meridian counterattack found its target already gone. Every defensive position discovered its weapons neutralized before they could fire. Aboard the Hyperion, Sarah received a priority communication from Earth Command. The quantum encryption was so advanced that the Meridians couldn't even detect the transmission, let alone decode it. Phase 2 is proceeding ahead of schedule, she reported. The Empire's military response is exactly as our predictive models anticipated. The Meridians had spent millennia perfecting the art of subjugating younger species, but in doing so, they had become predictable, rigid, unable to conceive of warfare beyond their understanding. Humanity had turned that predictability into a weapon more powerful than any quantum cannon. As the human fleet advanced through Meridian space, they encountered less and less resistance. The Empire's mighty warships, faced with an enemy that could rewrite the laws of physics at will, began to retreat to their core worlds. They're falling back to defensive positions around their homeworld, Sarah's tactical officer reported. Sarah nodded, watching the tactical display as Meridian ships flood before the human advance. They still don't understand. This isn't about conquest. This isn't about revenge. This is about breaking the cycle. Humanity had hidden its true nature not out of fear, but purpose. They had studied the Meridians, understood their weaknesses, and prepared a response that went beyond mere military victory. They were about to offer the galaxy something it had never seen before, a future where advancement wasn't measured by the ability to dominate others. A new order. The Meridian homeworld's orbital defense grid was a testament to 10,000 years of technological development. Quantum-powered weapon platforms, automated defense systems, and the combined might of their remaining fleet created a barrier that had never been breached. Supreme Overlord Kha'Zix stood in the Imperial Command Center, watching as human ships emerged from quantum space around his world. The Hyperion led the formation, its presence alone a reminder of how thoroughly his empire had been deceived. "They're not attacking," his tactical officer reported, confusion evident in his voice. "They're waiting." A transmission cut through their quantum-encrypted channels with ease. Admiral Sarah Chen's hologram appeared before the Meridian High Council, her expression neutral but determined. "Supreme Overlord," she began, "your empire has stood for 10,000 years. In that time, you've conquered countless species, imposed your will across 50,000 systems, and convinced yourself that your way was the only path to advancement. Kha'Zix drew himself up to his full height, and you've proven us wrong. Is this the moment of our surrender? Our subjugation?" Sarah smiled slightly. "No, this is the moment we show you why we really hid our capabilities. Why we spent years preparing not just for war, but for what comes after." The Hyperion's quantum sensors detected the massive energy buildup as the Meridian defense grid prepared to fire, but Sarah made no move to counter it. "Your weapons are already neutralized," she said calmly, "not by force, but by understanding. While you watched our ships run from your patrols, We studied every aspect of your technology. We didn't just learn to counter it. We learned to improve it. Around Meridia Prime, the defense platforms suddenly powered down, not through human attack, but through the implementation of code that had been hidden in their systems for years, waiting for this moment. Look at your sensors, Sarah continued. Really look at what our ships are doing. The Meridian technicians reported in growing astonishment. The human fleet wasn't generating defensive fields or charging weapons. Instead, they were creating a quantum network more sophisticated than anything the Empire had ever achieved. We could have destroyed your empire, Sarah explained. But destruction isn't advancement. Control isn't progress. Real power isn't about domination. It's about elevation. The quantum network expanded, connecting with systems across Meridian space. As it did, their technology began to change, evolve, improve itself in ways their scientists had never imagined possible. This is what we were building toward, Sarah said. Not a weapon to defeat you, but a bridge to show you what's possible when species work together instead of trying to dominate each other. Kha'Zix watched in amazement as his own ship's systems integrated with the quantum network. Information flowed freely, showing him possibilities that tens of thousands of years of Meridian development had never conceived. Your empire was built on the belief that advancement comes through conquest, Sarah continued. We're offering a different path, a future where species share knowledge, where technology serves understanding rather than domination. The Hyperion's quantum core pulsed, extending its field to encompass the Meridian homeworld. But instead of the weapon they feared, it brought revelation. The quantum network showed them glimpses of human development, how they had chosen to advance differently, to build technology that enhanced rather than controlled. This is why we hid, Sarah explained. Not because we feared you, but because we needed you to understand. Real power isn't about what you can destroy or control. It's about what you can create, what you can improve, what you can achieve when you stop seeing other species as threats or subjects. In that moment, the Meridian Empire faced a choice unlike any in their history. The humans hadn't come to conquer them, but to offer them a place in something greater than empire. The galaxy is changing, Sarah said. The question isn't whether you'll surrender to us, but whether you're ready to help build something new, something better. Kha'Zix looked at the data flowing through the quantum network, saw the possibilities it represented. For the first time in 10,000 years, the Meridian Empire had encountered a force that didn't seek to destroy or subjugate them, but to transform them. Perhaps, he said slowly, it is time for the galaxy to advance in a new direction. The human fleet remained in formation around Meridia Prime, not as conquerors, but as harbingers of change. They had hidden their true nature not to deceive, but to reveal a fundamental truth. The greatest power isn't the ability to destroy or dominate, but the wisdom to know when not to. As the quantum network expanded across the galaxy, connecting species that had been separated by empire and fear, humanity's true victory became clear. They hadn't just defeated the Meridian Empire, they had rendered the very concept of empire obsolete. The age of domination was over. The age of understanding had begun.